Salut, I'm Jennifer, your French teacher in the south of France, and today I'm going to teach you how to say this, that, these, and those in French. And you'll see that this is not going to be a very long, difficult, complicated lesson. There are just a few rules that you need to learn, but you're going to need a lot of practice, and that's why I've put together a mini course on this topic, and you can find the link to that course down in the description below. So when I say this, that, these, and those, I'm talking about French demonstrative adjectives. So to say this and that, this, these, and those, in some ways it's less complicated than in English, and we'll get more to that toward the end of this lesson. But the point is you use the same words in French, whether you want to say this, that, these, or those. You use the ones that I have highlighted for you here in red: ce, cet, cette, and c'est. So let's talk about CE. And then I'm going to show you some examples, okay? You use CE with masculine and singular nouns beginning with a consonant. And you use CET with masculine and singular nouns that begin with vowels or with a mute H. We'll get back to that in just a minute too. We use CETTE with feminine and singular nouns that begin with any letter. And we use CES for masculine or feminine plural nouns that begin with any letter. So I told you we would get back to that mute H thing. I'll try to make this quick because it really is another whole lesson. But a mute H in French, which is what we're going to focus on, just to kind of keep it as simple as possible during this lesson. A mute H, we're talking about a word that comes from a Latin root. So the easiest one I can think of is means man. And it has not been borrowed from another language. So when we say the man, we say l'homme, L', l'homme. Have you ever noticed that? But when you have a word that clearly has been borrowed from another language, and sometimes it's clearer than others, but I'm going to use this example because it'll make sense to you: hamburger. So hamburger begins with an H. Clearly doesn't have a Latin root. So if we're going to say the hamburger, we don't say l'hamburger. Did you know that? You have to say le hamburger. So if you need some help and you need some lists so that you can clear up this mute and aspirate H thing, then I do have some Quizlet study sets that can help you. And if you want to sign up for my YouTube Quizlet class, again, just look down in the description below to find the link. Just submit a request, and I'm always real quick about getting back to you and approving you. All right, so let's get on with this lesson. And remember, we're talking about mute H. So these are words that come from a Latin root. Okay, so in order to use masculine nouns, as I already told you, we're going to use ce and cet. So let me show you some examples. We're going to say ce garçon. Now remember, that means this boy or that boy, right? The first letter is a consonant. Le garçon, the boy. Ce garçon, this boy. But when you have a word like hôtel, which begins with a mute H, we're going to say cet hôtel. D'accord? It has to sound right. Look at how we say the hotel, l'hôtel. So in French, why do we say l'hôtel? So that it will flow. This is a French word, l'hôtel. Le hamburger isn't going to sound right no matter what you do. That's an aspirate H, but l'hôtel sounds good. So it wouldn't sound right for us to say ce hôtel. It doesn't flow. That's why we say cet hôtel. Same thing for a word that begins with a vowel, like animal. Cet animal. Just like we say l'animal. All right, so that's the big thing. You have to make it flow. And I was telling you in the beginning of this lesson that in some ways it's easier in English than in French, and I promise I'll get more to that toward the end of the lesson. But as you can see so far, what's complicated in French is that you have to know whether the noun in question is masculine or feminine. And I know that that's always kind of hard, but I'll show you a little trick for that here in a minute, just, in case you really get stuck and you need a way out and you don't want to make a mistake. I'll show you something that you can do. But first, let's have a look at some feminine nouns. All right, feminine nouns. Remember, we're always going to use CETTE with feminine nouns, okay, when they are singular. It doesn't matter if they begin with a consonant, mute H, vowel. So we're going to say cette fille, this girl, that girl, cette hôtesse, this hostess, that hostess, cette actrice, this actress, or that actress. Now, let's have a look at plural nouns. Now, these are the easy ones, okay? And what I was telling you a second ago, I said I'm going to show you a little trick. If you don't know that the word is masculine or feminine, I mean, sometimes you just have to guess. You know, you've got a 50-50 chance, and everybody makes mistakes with it, if you're not French. And, you know, sometimes you just have to make a mistake, and hopefully someone will correct you. But if you have your thinking cap on, if you make that noun plural, you know, if you can calculate it that fast in your head and you can make it plural, then you just get to use CES, no matter if it's masculine or feminine. You see how this works? C'est chaise. Well, chaise is feminine, but we don't care. We're going to use C, and it doesn't matter what the first letter of the word is. Ces hommes. Well, this is masculine and has a mute H, but we don't care. We're still going to say ces hommes. Remember to make that liaison. Ces hommes. Or ses amis. Now this is a plural feminine word. Do we care? No, we don't care. Ses amis, just like we don't care when we're using les amis, because it's plural and it doesn't matter. And then the word for books, livre. This is a masculine plural noun. So we're going to say ces livres, just like we say les livres. So you know what I mean? If you have your thinking cap on and you can say, all right, I know what I want to say. I don't know if it's masculine or feminine, so we're going to make it plural. I used that trick for a long time, and I still use it sometimes, okay? I mean, come on. Now, I'm going to show you about 10 words. I'm going to give you a little quiz. I told you this is going to be short and sweet, but after the quiz, I'm going to show you something that's harder in French than it is in English. I'll give you an example, all right? Let's start our little practice time. So in a nutshell, you know to use the different forms ce, cet, cette, and c'est, right? In a nutshell. So let's begin with the verb devoir. So devoir means homework or assignment. Now here I've made it singular. Sometimes you see it plural. Here we just have one assignment. So what do you think your answer is going to be? Do you know if it's masculine or feminine? Well, if you guessed ce devoir, then you are correct. Ce devoir means this assignment or that assignment. D'accord? Okay, what about the word chose? Chose. C'est masculin ou c'est féminin? C'est pluriel ou c'est singulier? Well, we know that it's singular because there's no S on the end of it, all right? So that narrows it down. Are you going to choose ce, cet, or cette? Well, if you chose cet, then you are correct because chose is a feminine word. It doesn't matter what the thing is. It doesn't matter if it's a book, which is masculine, or a table, which is feminine. It's still a thing, and that word chose is always feminine. Okay, how about this one? Vie. Vie, which means life. Which one will you choose? Allez, cette vie, this life, or that life. This life is awesome, right? Look at this next one. This one confuses a lot of people, in my experience. Personne. Now, we tend to see the word personne, and we think about who the person is. Is it a boy, a girl, a man, a woman? Guys, it's just like the word chose. It doesn't matter if that thing is a masculine thing or a feminine thing. The word chose is feminine. So it does not matter if that person is a man or a woman. The word personne is, do you know? Can you guess? Féminin. Oui, c'est féminin. Donc, on va dire cette personne, this person or that person. All right, how about the word ami? So you know ami means friend. Which one are you going to use? Okay, you've made your decision. If you chose cet ami, Yay, you got it right. Why did you use CETTE? Because ami does not have an E on the end of it, right? So it's masculine. It begins with a vowel, so we have to use cet ami. We have to make it flow. Now, let me ask you this question. What if ami had been feminine? What if it were A-M-I-E? Which one would you have used? You would have had to use cet ami, C-E-T-T-E, because that word is feminine. Okay? All right, have a look at this next one. And this one's going to kind of be like objet, not objet, chose and personne. The next one is enfant. So what do you think? I'll tell you in a minute. It's cet enfant. Cet enfant. It's a masculine noun that begins with a vowel. So we have to say cet enfant. And you might say, well, now, what if the child is a girl? It doesn't matter. Enfant is always masculine. So is the word bébé. Bébé would be ce bébé, even if it's a little girl baby. Ce bébé. And while we're on the topic of talking about whether things are masculine or feminine, that's right, things are masculine and feminine. So are people. But we would never, ever refer to a person as a male or female in French. Mâle, femelle. I know we do that in English, but maybe you just didn't know that those words mâle and femelle are only used for animals in French. So that just came to me. Thought I would let you know. Let's go on. We're almost done with our little quiz. So, next one is besoin. Oh, I know what that means. That means to need. Avoir besoin de. It does when you're using it as a verb. But here, this means a need. Okay, so the word besoin can also be a noun. So we want to say this need, like this need is urgent, something like that. Well, we have to know if besoin is masculine or feminine. You might have to guess. Which one would you guess? Ce besoin. If you guess that it's masculine, you're correct. But what if you really didn't know? Do you remember my trick? If you can make the word besoin plural in your sentence, you could say ses besoins, stick an S on the S of besoin, and it doesn't matter. That's just a little trick. All right, here we go. Next one. Maison. Maison. Is it masculine or feminine? House. How do you say this house? Cette maison. Très, très bien. Alors, how about histoire? Histoire either means history or story. But either way, it's the same gender. Now, what do you think? If it's masculine, you're going to have to use CET, right? Because it begins with that mute H, Latin root. But if it's feminine, you're going to need CETTE. So if you have to guess, guess, and let's see if you get the right one. Cette histoire. Oui, histoire, c'est un nom féminin et singulier. Donc on dit cette histoire for this story or that story. One more in the quiz, and then I'm going to show you something very interesting. Année. Année. You know, this means year, the duration of a year. Année. C'est masculin ou c'est féminin? It begins with a vowel. If you chose cette année, then that is very, very good because année is a feminine singular word. So now I'm going to show you one more thing, and this is very interesting because I don't know how much communication you've had with native French speakers. And some native French speakers speak English very, very well and never make any mistakes. I understand that. But I'm talking about people who are learning and haven't completely perfected the language, or they've been making the same mistakes year after year, and no one's ever told them. So you might hear a French person, I'm just grabbing my bottle of water here because that's all that I have handy. You might hear them say something in English like, I'm going to drink that bottle of water today. And you might be thinking, which bottle? Why is he saying that bottle when it's in his hand? The reason why is because there's no difference between this and that. In French, bouteille is always feminine. So he would say in French, cette bouteille. D'accord? But in English, you might be like, well, shoot, is it this or is it that? I don't know. It's CETTE. Well, we know in English, because it's our language, that it's right here in my hand, so it's this one. Or it might be across the room, and he might say, I'm going to drink this bottle of water. And he might be looking around for a bottle of water. What's he talking about? Poor thing. He's talking about cette bouteille, the one that's on the other side of the room. Okay? So anyway, let me show you something that you can do if you find yourself in a bind as an English speaker and you really want to emphasize this or that. D'accord? Watch this. So, if you look over on the right, the word ici means here, and the word là means there. So if you really, really want someone to know, for example, which bed you're talking about, the word for bed is lit, and it's masculine. So this or that bed would be ce lit. But if you want to say that bed, you can say ce lit-là, ce lit-là. Or if you want to say this bed, you can say ce lit-ci. All right, so it's kind of like if you were saying, this here bed or that there bed. And I know that sounds funny, but I'm from Louisiana, and so that makes sense to me. And that's what helped me learn this, If you can learn that ici, in this case just ci, means here, then this here bed is going to make sense to you. D'accord? Or celui-là, that there bed, just stick a la on the end. Let me let you have another look at the rest of the examples. Cet arbre-là, that tree, or that tree there. Cet arbre-ci, this here tree. Or cette lampe-là. Do you like how I'm taking on my Louisiana accent? I just can't help it. Cette lampe-là, that there lamp. Or cette lampe-ci, this here lamp. Ces chaussures-là, those there no, how would we say it? How would we say it? Ces chaussures-là. Something like them there shoes. Please don't stop watching my videos because of this. I'm just trying to make you understand in our English brains how sometimes it can work, even though that's not necessarily how you would say it in English. If it helps, register it. I always like to make a link between French and English, even if sometimes it's ridiculous. So them there shoes and these here shoes, hick English turns into perfect French. Okay, so, all right, you want to see some examples with that? Ce devoir-là est très difficile. That homework is very hard. Or ce devoir-ci est très facile. This homework is very easy. Cet enfant-là est bien élevé. That child is well-mannered. Cet enfant-ci est mal élevé. This child is ill-mannered. You see the difference between this and that when we put the la and the ci. Cette maison-là est grande. That house is big. Ou alors, cette maison-ci est petite. This house is small. Ces chaussures-là sont noires. Those shoes are black. Ces chaussures-ci sont blanches. These shoes are white. Okay? Don't feel like you have to use the ci and the la. But sometimes it's going to be very helpful because you might want to say, est-ce que tu préfères cette robe-ci ou cette robe-là? If you're holding up two dresses trying to choose which one you want to wear. Cette robe-ci ou cette robe-là? D'accord? So it can come into, it can really help you. Let's just put it that way. So here I'm going to show you that I have a study guide available. It's basically just showing you the lesson highlights that I told you about. And I also have a set of 75 practice cards. Now these are available in my mini lesson that I told you about, my mini course, and you can find the link in the description below. I have 75 of these cards available for you. And if you have a close look, the number 1 on the upper left says blank, petit chat, noir, et blanc, et perdu. And it doesn't tell you if it's masculine or feminine or whatever. But the next card has an MS in parentheses. And I've done that, guys. I've done that if you sign up for the course because sometimes it can be quite frustrating. And I understand that if you're going through a stack of 75 cards, And every single one, you're like, oh, I've got to guess. I've just got to guess. I don't know if it's masculine or feminine. So I'm providing a set of cards with helpful hints that you can go through and feel like, you've gone through them enough that you think you've learned the genders. And so believe me, you'll come out of here learning a whole lot of genders to go along with nouns that you might already know. And then you can say, okay, I'm ready for the real challenge. I'm going to do the set of the cards without the helpful hints. So, those are available in the mini course. Now, if you want to get the lesson guide and you're a supporter of mine on Patreon, I've made it available for you. You can go on over there and download it now, and it is also available in my mini course. All right, so that's it. That's it for today, and I hope that my little comparisons between English and French can help you. Let me know in the comments if you found this lesson helpful in any way. If you have questions about it, I would love to hear you. And I will see you next time with another lesson. Merci beaucoup et à très bientôt.